When a person loves themselves and knows themselves, they carry a very strong vibration with the heart chakra where they don't need anybody else to tell them who's good for them or not. They know. They know. But you'll never know that if you never actually take the time to love yourself. And you love yourself feeding yourself, moving your body, what's your purpose, saying no, protecting your energy, and allowing yourself to rest without feeling guilty. And guess what you do when you do that, my friend? You balance out that sensitive nervous system. And if you balance out that sensitive nervous system, then the organs, glands, muscular system, emotions, and subconscious mind are no longer triggered from that nervous system. And then you can have an opportunity to rewire that. And with these new habits that you're putting in, call it the 3-3-3 method, do it for 3 days. You got motivation. And then after 3 weeks, you make a habit. But if you do it for 3 months, you become it. And in life, it's not about what you get. It's about who you become.
Trust flow, surrender, let go. Trust flow, surrender, let go. Trust flow, surrender, let go. I'm the one I've been waiting for.
Welcome back to the Highest Self Podcast. My name is Sahara Rose, and on this podcast, I love to have spiritual topics that are a little bit off the beaten path. For me, spirituality is not about ascension, but rather it's about being in the body, in the dirt, in the womb, in the soil, in the love, in the fucking trenches, because that's where all this shit goes down. You know what I'm saying? So today's episode is one of my favorites. He's been on the podcast twice already. Fan fave, top 2023 downloaded episode, and a dear brother of mine. And we're going to talk about an immersion I did with him recently as well, diving deep into the mind, body, all of the zones, aka chakras, that we're going to be getting into. But I wanted to have this conversation about love, because if you haven't noticed a theme here on the podcast, I like to talk about matters of the heart, because that is how I've grown the most in my spiritual journey. And I think ultimately that's why we're here. You know, we're here to learn through love. We're here to open our hearts, to have them shattered, to open them again, and learn that we can survive and thrive and actually become the versions of ourselves that we really want to be through the heartbreak, even though it sucks, even though we learn lessons, but we get better every time. And as we learn more discernment, the level of our relationships ascends. And we can move from having these karmic relationships that bring out all of our triggers and ancestral wounds and childhood trauma, which, to be honest, you need to have those relationships. You know, you need to have those aspects of your relationship to allow those pieces of information to come front forward, because I think there's nothing that makes us want to grow as much as love, because love is why we're here. And if there's something that will bring us back to that state of love that we're like, I'm in. And then it takes us to hell and back. You know, we see all of the parts of ourselves that we didn't look at. We see our childhood in the ways that our fathers did not love us enough. And we see the ways that we've seen unhealthy relationships played time and time again. And we look at our ancestry and the ways that the feminine hasn't been meeting the masculine has been told all their worth is based on their providership. And the list goes on. So I love having conversations like this and linking them into how trauma healing is really at the root of having the relationships that we want, because we can watch all the rom-coms and Disney movies and, you know, write all the affirmations. But if we don't get to the root of why do we keep finding ourselves in the same dynamic, whether it's unrequited love, whether it is infidelity, whether it is narcissistic relationships, we can blame that person. We also have to look at, how did and in no way does anyone ever deserve any of these things, but how is an unhealed aspect within me allowing myself to be in situations where there is this level of being unmet and staying in this dynamic because I've normalized it. And that's where the trauma is. That's where my journey really was after my divorce at the end of 2022, where it really brought me into seeing all of the ways I had normalized distance in my relationship, because that's what I had seen. So we'll see where this conversation takes us. I trust Spirit will lead the way. So Nate, he is a Paul Chek practitioner. He is the thug guru, as I like to say, and someone who will definitely inspire you with his wisdom, his grit, his resilience, and his story. And before we drop into this episode, be sure to hit subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast. That is the best way to stay up to date on the latest episodes. We've got this in video format, so if you're just hearing my voice, be sure to also watch our fabulous outfits on video as well on Spotify, YouTube, or the Apple Store. This is the best way to stay in the flow with future conversations and also allows the podcast to reach more people. So hit subscribe so I can keep vibing with you on all future episodes. Now let's get into this one. So without further ado, let's welcome Nate on the Highest Self podcast.
Thank you. Yo, that's crazy. You did all that without a teleprompter.
I never use a teleprompter.
That's sharp.
Speak from the heart.
You're on your game. That was sharp.
Thank you. So I've asked you this question before, so I'm going to change it up. Instead of what makes you your highest self, what makes you feel your heart? What brings you into your heart space?
Seeing someone that didn't think they can do something and they did it. That brings me the most joy. I was actually thinking about that today on a plane on the way here. And there's nothing brings me more happiness than seeing somebody happy, especially when they thought they couldn't do it. And that's what really, I guess that's what really continues to keep me as a coach, like drives me as a coach. You know what I'm saying? Like the best thing during my day is if someone goes, yo, Nate, you know, I no longer have digestive issues, or I lost the weight, or I got the job. You were right. And it's not about me being right. It was about me just showing them a side of themselves that they didn't see. You know, so that brings me the most joy. That brings it outside of my dogs.
So we've spoken in depth about relationships and the masculine and all of the shadows. And I think it's not just me who's you have a lot of female clients who have been feeling this like just deep yearning to be in sacred union partnership and this feeling of being unmet.
Mm-hmm.
And then it can cause women to close their hearts, to say, you know what, I don't even need a relationship. I'm good on my own, or to just lower their standards and get into wrong relationships. So what are you kind of seeing in the collective right now with love?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely seeing about 90% of my clients are females, right? They're women. So when I'm working with them, a lot of the times, if there's someone, and we'll get into this, if they're a zone 2 client, their biggest trigger towards any goal or anything that they were working on, their nutrition, their dream in life, their working out, everything falls if there's a problem in the relationship. Right? If it was a date they went on and the date wasn't what they turned out to, they wanted to be, or someone broke their heart, usually I started to have, I had to start throwing this in my coaching on teaching women on how to love themselves, right? And set core values and boundaries with certain men that, they can find themselves wasting a lot of time with. And I always start the conversation like, yo, look, you want me to keep it real with you? And they're like, yeah, keep it real with me. And then I say, listen, and then then we go through, filter things. But usually you find a lot of trauma with that. You can find a father that wasn't there in my client's life, where as they get older, they don't know any better. There wasn't a man that taught them things, that didn't have anything that they were looking for their benefit, right? So most of the relationships, either the guy wants to have sex, or the guy you can find men these days using women for money. Sleep in that girl's house. I never saw that as a kid. Like where I'm from, I never saw that. You knew a couple people, but it's like normal today. So there's things I have to teach that I never had to teach before. I say, especially in the last, from mid 2022 to today, it's like this explosion that I see. And I think the more you brought it up to me, you made me aware of things that I really didn't see like that. Like, I'm like, yo, this is a real thing that's going on out there. So, yeah, it's definitely, we'll get more into it. I'll tell you the root causes and patterns behind all of it though.
Yeah. So I really like the system, the Polachek system of the zones, which are essentially the chakras. So can you speak about what these zones are, and let's break down trauma in love, relationships, and sex into the zones. Let's fucking dive into this.
I'm gonna break all of it down.
He's stretching. Right? He's ready.
I'm gonna break all of it down. All right, here we go.
First of all, what are the zones?
Okay, the zones at the Czech Institute, we learned about the zones. It's a part of the body that is the chakras, right? But the difference that we do at the Czech Institute is that we connect science more to it. And when Paul was connecting the science to it, it made sense to me because growing up where I'm from, we didn't do practice chakra healing practices, like we didn't do that, and I'm not judging it, but it was very unfamiliar for me. And I knew if I had to
You're
teach
saying
people,
you didn't have yoga teachers on the streets of New York? What?
no, not where I'm from. Look, you go to nice parts of Manhattan, you do, but if you go to the projects, you ain't seeing none of that. It was different for me. So when he connected some science to it, and I graduated with a degree in a Bachelor of Science in Movement Science. So when I started to see some science, I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of get it, but it still didn't connect. And then that's when I came up with something I call the 5 layers of energy. And that's when it made sense to me. So each zone, we call them zones because it holds energy, and it is a chakra, respectfully, right? It's like a location, but each zone has 5 layers of energy. They all have the same 5. But what happens is as you go up, the organs, glands, things start to change. So I'll give you a perfect example. The root chakra, everything starts off with the nervous system. So the root chakra is the first layer of energy is the nervous system. So you have the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system, okay? Fight or flight, rest and digest. Then the organs and glands, the main organ and gland on this layer of energy happens to be the adrenals. And then you have layer number 3, which is the muscular system. Feet, legs, psoas muscle, and quad. Those are going to be the muscles that are related to the root chakra or zone 1. Then you have emotion, energy, emotion. This person's energy, emotion, or emotions are going to be triggered anytime they move, anytime they have problems with their money, anytime people getting laid off, anytime someone breaks their trust, anytime they can't trust somebody, like they trusted somebody and somebody betrayed them, you're going to trigger this person, right? Anything that's a threat to their safety and security. And subconsciously, we look for trauma from 0, the day that they're born, until 8 years old. Did they move a lot? Were they homeless? Were they abused? Were they abandoned? And usually that's the subconscious trauma that's related to that zone. Go to zone 2. Zone 2, subconscious, we go the same thing. Sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic
Zone
nervous
2
system.
is the sacral chakra.
It's the sacral. I'm going to use chakras just so I can make it clear for the audience. But you got chakra 2, the sacral chakra. You have the nervous system. Throughout this whole system with trauma, you're going to find when it comes up to that first one, the nervous system as the first layer of energy, it's always going to be dominant on this sympathetic nervous system.
Which the parasympathetic or sympathetic, which one's which?
Perfect. The sympathetic nervous system is known as the fight or flight. So when the body gets stressed or gets scared or goes through trauma, the body goes through, the nervous system perceives stress. The hypothalamus pituitary adrenal would then have the cortisol be released from the adrenal cortex. That would force the body to drive it into fight or flight. Having stored glycogen released from glucagon, a hormone called glucagon, tells the liver, we need sugar, we need a fight or flight. And now a person's in fight or flight. So that's the sympathetic nervous system. But those with trauma have elevated cortisol levels because trauma, especially if they're PTSD, trauma leaves one with high levels of stress hormones. Therefore, in the 5 layers of energy, throughout the whole chakra system, as I keep going, that nervous system, every time I say the first layer is the nervous system, it's always going to be sympathetic until you learn on how to maintain your mind, body, emotions through the 5 layers of energy, which I can teach you. Secondly, the parasympathetic nervous system is rest and digest. Interestingly, the parasympathetic nervous system aligns perfectly with melatonin, the circadian rhythm when you go to sleep, growth hormone, it's rest and repair. A person that has trauma, that as we go through the 5 layers of energy, will find themselves that they feel guilty when it's time to rest. Their mind will make them feel like you're doing something wrong. You shouldn't be resting. You can go clean the kitchen. You can go make more money. Go check your email. It's not because it's subconscious only. It's also because that hormone of cortisol being high within this person is driving the psyche to believe you have to go for safety and security and survival. And you do not rest. Until a person knows how to maintain or balance their nervous system, they'll always have that problem. So if we go back to the sacral chakra, you have the sympathetic nervous system is going to be activated with the fight or flight system. The organs and glands are the reproductive hormones. The organs and glands are going to be the reproductive system. So the more trauma I see someone with the sacral chakra, the more I find PCOS or some type of cyst.
Prostate cancer.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Now, as we go through the muscles, the hips, TFL, muscle, which is like these hip muscles that's on the side of your hips. And then you're going to have the lower back. That's going to be the main two areas as far as the muscles go. Emotions, this person feels alone. They feel unrelatable. This person's very hard on themselves, extremely hard on themselves. In fact, this person does a good job going out to the world pretending to be strong or tough or sarcastic, but they're putting a front on to protect themselves because their trauma comes from usually sexual, physical, or emotional abuse when they're growing up. So they don't know who they truly are. The subconscious overall comes from 8 to 14 years old. We have to see what happened from 8 to 14. Did you grow up where you were sexually abused? Did you grow up in a household that made you feel guilty about your sex organs? Because of religion, because of beliefs, because of a cult? I find a lot of people growing up in some cults. That was new to me this last year. It was like, I don't know, the universe threw me a lot of those this year. Now, after each one, subconsciously, I have come up with an archetype that attaches to each, because the subconscious communicates with the collective unconscious through symbols, images, through your dreams, through consequences. Sometimes we think it's just like, oh, that was bad luck, that was good luck. No, that's the subconscious. Your subconscious mind, your programming, your paradigm communicates through the collective unconscious, and the collective unconscious communicates back through symbols of your self-image of yourself or a personality, an archetype. So with the root chakra, you'll find people when they're functional, when they're good, they're the hero archetype. They made something out of their trauma. They made a way for themselves. But when they're not good, they're the victim archetype. Oh, the reason why I'm not successful is because, my mom and my dad did this or did this. They're always blaming somebody else. The sacral chakra, when a person is functional, they're the artist. But when they're dysfunctional, they're the shielded archetype. Now, the shielded archetype is something I made up in the book because I try to make something that can be very relatable to what I see. Shielded archetype is someone they go out, like I said, go out into the world. They act tough. They have to because they're protecting themselves because they've been hurt so many times. But I'll tell you one thing. The more you get to know a shielded archetype and the more they trust you, the more you'll find out that these people are the most loving human beings you'll ever meet in your life. They're the most loyal, loving. They happen to be the best entrepreneurs. They're artists. All right, solar plex. Of course, sympathetic nervous system is activated, right? Because of trauma. The sympathetic nervous system being activated communicates with the organs and glands of the digestive system. So think about it like this. Stress, fight or flight, right? So if you go through the root chakra, the adrenals release cortisol. Okay, cool. Sacral chakra, fight or flight, cortisol is being high. Your sex hormones are going to be robbed from nutrition. If you look up something called cortisol steal or progesterone steal, the more stressed that a person is, the more that their micronutrients like B5, cholesterol is stolen from progesterone, from pronetolone that usually feeds DHEA, testosterone, estrogen, is stolen to feed cortisol to support fight or flight because cortisol needs nutrition too, okay? Now you'll find a person not being able to build or develop enough sexual energy or the nutrition needed for sex, for creating sperm or eggs. Now you'll find issues with infertility and things of that nature because cortisol comes from what? The sympathetic nervous system being activated. So you see how the first layer of energy communicates with the second layer of energy.
So
now,
not getting your period would be under this.
Not getting your period. I had a client that didn't get a period for 15 years.
Wow.
That's a fact. I ran into that a lot. Or premenopause. Women going in premenopause early.
Many.
I'm seeing 33 years old, 37 years old. 44 is like a magic number when I find women fully in menopause. 44 years old. And then they start spotting as soon as we switch everything around, right? Not the full menopause, the premenopausal, or those symptoms. They're like, why? I'm spotting where I'm feeling energized, I'm feeling better, and I'm feeling this. And I'm like, because we're getting your body back into homeostasis, okay? Now, the body's in fight or flight. the sympathetic nervous system turns off the digestive tract. So the third layer of energy, the solar plex, you have the nervous system, the organs and glands at the digestive tract. So if the sympathetic nervous system's high, you're turning off digestion. Your digestion, your liver won't produce enough bile, your stomach won't produce enough stomach acid, and you'll be told that you have too much stomach acid, you have GERD. Most of the people that I come across that I coach have too little stomach acid. So I always ask them, okay, so if you have too much stomach acid, how long do you have to take the proton inhibitor? Well, I've been taking it for 3 years. Okay, so there's something going wrong if you had to take something for 3 years and your stomach is not producing or still producing too much acid. We have to master the reason why. So when you find issues with the stomach, the pancreas won't release enough enzymes, and now the blood flow from your digestive tract is sacrificed and pushed towards the heart and the main muscles to help you fight or flight. So now you'll find constipation. And the longer someone's constipated, the more the body will make an effort to pull water from the muscular system in the body to dump it through the digestive tract to get rid of the poop. And then they'll alternate between hard and soft stool, right? And then they're setting themselves up for a fungal infection or parasite infection for the simple fact that if you leave garbage in the middle of your kitchen, you're gonna see bugs and stuff, right? Same thing with poop. Watch this. Back pain. Why? Because if the inflammation in the digestive tract, which communicates through the nervous system to the muscle nearest to it, the more inflammation the organ has, the more the muscle nearest to it won't work. The muscle communicates through the nervous system and doesn't have the same language as organs. Organs get communication of inflammation. The signal that the muscle picks up is pain. So it turns off, it inhibits. Therefore, a person gets bloated. If you're bloated, you can't activate your deep core muscles called the transverse abdominis. Meaning when you bend, you twist, you run, you're going through the iliac psoas muscle, the QL muscles, the TFL muscles, the adductor, and the quads. You're going to be pulling the pelvis forward into something called the anterior pelvic tilt. You're going to cause back pain, hip pain, and then it's going to continue to travel up the kinetic chain, and it's going to cause problems with your neck and your shoulders. And then
so this is related to someone being out of touch with their personal power.
That's the emotions. So out of the 5 layers of energy, nervous system, organs and glands, muscles, emotion, which I'm always going to emphasize, energy in motion. You're going to see why. And then the subconscious. All of those combined spit out an archetype. The more positive, the more functional archetype. The more negative, the more you're going to have the dysfunctional part of the archetype. Here's the emotions that you get out of the solar plex. The biggest one, person can't say no. They don't know how to say no. If we sit this person down, we'll find this person's giving most of their time and their energy to people who don't deserve their time and their energy because they don't know how to say no. And yes, that comes from personal power, self-will, and confidence. How can you trust your gut if your gut is inflamed? That's a bar.
Are you a soul-centered person that is wanting to create your full-time career sharing your wisdom? Well, one of the best career paths for you is becoming a spiritual life coach. So we have put together a free 3-part workshop series called Money, Mastery, and Magic. These are soul-inspired workshops to allow you to see how you can create your full-time career as a spiritual life coach. In the first workshop, I'll be going into how to be a multidimensional coach, creating revenue streams from podcasting, writing books, group workshops, one-on-one workshops, corporate events, and so much more. In the second workshop, my co-founder, Dr. Neetha, will be going into how to transition from your full-time career into coaching, and especially bringing coaching into your corporate space. Because as we know, a lot of these companies have budgets. They're really wanting to keep employee retention. So there is an incredible space for you to become their internal purpose coach. And in the third workshop, I'll be sharing about how you can align your unique soul purpose, your Dharma archetype, as we call it. If you are a visionary, a teacher, a nurturer, an artist, an entertainer, I'll be helping you figure out what your archetype is and how to align it with a career path so you can be living your fullest expression full time. So just click the link below to join these free workshops. And I'm so excited to have you live inside.
Breathe like incense, move like water, adore myself with flowers. My body is the altar, feel like heaven.
Do you hear this music right now? This is from my debut album, My Body is an Altar. This body of work is really the story of my metamorphosis after my divorce, diving into the depths of my shadow where my artist emerged. My voice awakened, my sensuality blossomed, my liberation unfolded. I shed the conditioning of who I thought I needed to be and remembered the truth, the full spectrum of who I really am. Last year, I began producing and writing music. Every single song you hear on the album was created by me from beat to finish, infusing Middle Eastern and Afro beats as well as some reggaeton with lyrics you also feel good about getting stuck in your head. This album is really the journey of alchemy, a certain one that only heartbreak can give you to allow you to become the love of your own life. And my deepest prayer is that it supports you as you move through life's major initiations to remember that your body is the altar and the sacred site is you. So you can pre-save it over on Spotify, which is the best way to support my work, and listen to it absolutely for free over at the show notes. And I am so excited to share this with you.
Look, baby, I'm an altar. The sacred site is me.
New song featuring Jay-Z. How can you trust your gut if your gut isn't inflamed? Well, I'm asking because all of those symptoms in my early 20s were what I had.
Yeah.
Bloating, amenorrhea, didn't get my period for 2 years, low hormones, and I was not in touch with my personal power, my dharma.
Of course. Yeah.
So that's why, and now I don't have any of those issues. So it shows just by shifting my reality, my body is a reflection of that.
Yes, absolutely. Because you can't become mindful with a body that's inflamed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, you can't become mindful without the 5 layers of energy being imbalanced. I was so happy when I came up with the 5 layers of energy concept. It saved me so much time of looking. I just connect. So I use the chakras as the location, GPS.
Yeah.
Okay, where's the problem? Okay, boom. I know exactly what I'm looking for. I also want to mention really quick before I move, as I continue to go through the solar plex, the sacral chakra, you'll find the more inflammation the pelvic floor has, the more a person won't be able to stabilize their pelvis with their deep pelvic floor muscles. Therefore, if we turn this individual to the side and I do a gait analysis, meaning I get them to walk back and forth, you're going to notice the top part of the butt cheeks get tight. And we call that heart bottom syndrome. Their butt looks like a heart. Instead of looking the opposite way, healthy, as the butt, the gluteus maximus kind of comes down like a nice upside down heart, it's the opposite. The butt cheeks get really tight. So if you see a person standing from the side, you can see them clenching the gluteus medius, which is the muscle that goes right around the iliac crest that helps you stabilize your pelvis. It's overactive because they have no control of their deep abdominal wall. And now you'll find a whole kinetic chain problem. When I say kinetic chain, if the glute is tight, then you'll find the next thing with the knee and then the ankle have problems. And then if you go up from the glute, you have the shoulder and you have the neck. That's the kinetic chain. So if one thing's out of balance in that chain, they're all out of balance.
Makes sense.
So with the solar, I just want to mention that because I know I see that a lot and I didn't want to leave. I want to inform people that maybe that can help a lot of people. The solar plex, right? You have the emotions. We spoke about that. A person, criticism. They're sensitive to criticism. They can't say no. They have confidence issues, etc. Usually because they can't trust their gut, right? The gut's inflamed. But the subconscious, I can usually find 14 to 21 years old is the stage that we go through the consciousness of finding ourselves. You go to high school, right? You go to college, and you got to go, what are you going to do for a living? You have a lot of decisions to make. With women, I found this trait. There's no studies about this. I'm going to put this up. It's just something I found. I find that abortion at this time can really cause impact on a woman's life with their solar plex. I find, and the average number I found was at the age of 20. So I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying that's something I found. And usually a man can move on. Sometimes you got a man that's pushing it. But there's a connection there for a woman. And if the woman never gets the right coaching, the right therapy, if they really are hurt from it, then that can leave them with energy emotions that were never expressed. What happens if you don't express emotions? You suppress them. within what? The 5 layers of energy. Your nervous system, your organs and glands, your muscular system, and the subconscious mind. So I find that as a big one. When a person is functional at the solar plex chakra, they become a warrior archetype. They go make things happen. They don't need nobody to tell them it's okay. They don't need nobody to confirm nothing. They go make it happen. But when they don't, they become something I put as the people pleaser archetype, as a dysfunctional archetype. They just people please. They don't know how to say no. They really don't want to do something, but their biggest fear is losing people. And there's a deep reason to that. I can pull you to your roots to that. The reason why is because people really fear being alone, especially with trauma, because we lost a lot of people already. You know, trauma.
And when you're alone, you have to sit with your own thoughts.
You have to sit with yourself, and you have to find you, the real you, the you never knew, right? It's just the version of yourself or your higher self that you have no relationship with. You know what I'm saying? And the old you will always come back and make everything consciously easy for you, but subconsciously will put you through pain for the rest of your life. Building the new version of yourself is different. Consciously, you go through everything that you don't want to do, pain. But subconsciously, you free yourself from pain. You know, so I always like telling my clients that being alone is very needed, especially the more you get clear on your purpose in life, the more you like, I got to learn how to edit videos. I got to learn how to, you don't got time, you know, but when a person's not clear, that's what causes a lot of problems. But I'm going to make this all full circle. I'm not going to leave nobody hanging. I got you. So you have the heart chakra next. What happens if the nervous system is in the sympathetic nervous system's overdriven? What tends to happen from there is that the heart rate will increase. Blood pressure will increase. Breathing increases. So the heart and lungs, or the organs and glands that are connected to the heart chakra, right? And the immune system has a lot to do with the heart chakra as well. And then you have the muscular system. You can find people, usually you can find them with upper cross syndrome. So they're closed off. So if we see them, their shoulders are falling forward and their head is down. Or, talk to me, arms are folded. Yeah, that's cool. As soon as something emotional comes up, they fold their arms like this. They're blocking off.
I feel like a lot of these like gym bros are that. They put all this muscle to protect their hearts.
Oof. I can tell you something about that. I learned this. This wasn't something I discovered. This is something my mentor, Paul, taught me. He didn't teach me. We learned in school. The more that you see a man doing push-ups and bench press, the more he is saying no to his father. He's pushing his father away from childhood. Go test it. And then go see how many people are doing legs, especially gym bros, right? Or back. Another thing is the more that a man wants to be in fighting, especially boxing and MMA, usually their drive is coming subconsciously from protecting themselves from their father. So you always have to master the why, right? That's why I don't judge people. Even people that want to judge me, I don't judge them. I just sit there and I'm like, why did you judge me? Why did you? Or if I see something I'm interested, I don't judge people. I just look and I just master the why. And as soon as you do that, you have empathy for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, most people don't know themselves. And if we don't know ourselves and we're projecting that on other people that don't know themselves, then, you got some work to do, as far as growth. So now you have the emotions of the heart chakra, right? So you have the nervous system, sympathetic. The whole chain is going to be sympathetic with people with trauma, like myself, you, right? The second layer of that is going to be the organs and glands of the heart and lungs. The third is going to be the muscles. The chest muscle is going to be really tight, and the chest muscle connects to the internal part of the shoulder, and it would contribute to pulling the shoulders internally. So you can have your shoulders hunched over, and people will start getting neck pain and think that they have to get a neck massage or fix their neck. But truth is that their chest muscles are too tight, and their rhomboid muscles, which are the muscles that are in the back, usually that go over the scapula, support good posture throughout the thoracic spine, which is it's not your lower back, It's not your neck, it's right in the middle. And this is the place that is responsible for twisting. So you'll see a lot of people who do want to go to the gym only do sagittal plane exercises like push-ups, squats, but no twisting, okay? Or transverse, you got to twist. So you have frontal, sagittal, and basically twist. So from there, a person will start experiencing really bad back pain, and they can actually get a little hump on the back of their neck. There's a little lump, right? The bone, extra bone will start growing there. And emotionally, you can find two different things here, which I found them in my life. You can find one that, I tell you the one I see the most. They're stuck in something called a 55% relationship. This is something I made up. You ready for what 55% relationship is? Most of their relationships are only alive because they give 55% or more to that relationship to keep it alive. But as soon as they go 50 and 50, it's over. That person never meets them 50%. So usually this person is giving more love than receiving. And love, grudges, hate are the emotions, the energy emotion that communicates through, and grief are the ones that rotate and basically move through the heart chakra. So the more out of balance the heart, the lungs, or the emotions are, the more that the whole layer of energy is going to be out of balance with that. They have to protect their energy. They have to protect their heart. And I usually find protecting your energy is all heart chakra. The sacral and heart, I call them twins, because you'll find people that have sacral chakra imbalances have issues with the heart chakra of protecting their energy. I find women being with men that they should never, they'll admit, I should not be with this guy. I'm like, then why are you with him? I don't know. Did he come to your house to have dinner? Yeah, he came to the house. You just met him? Yeah. You can't let a guy in your house. The first day you meet a guy, you can't just let him at your house. But they don't know how to protect their energy because usually they didn't have this conversation with their father. You know, so I have empathy for them. Now, the subconscious of the heart chakra, you'll find people that are functional are a lover archetype. They're good at bringing mom and dad that argue. Mom, dad, sit down. I got you. Let me talk. You know.
This is my archetype. You haven't noticed, guys.
You have a strong lover archetype. Yes. No doubt about it.
I'm like, I just met you. Come on over. Let's hang out.
You have a strong lover archetype. It's good to have the lover versus the dysfunctional. So the dysfunctional one is the performer. It's that one friend that you know is going through something. You go to a party and nobody would ever guess that that person's going through anything because they're the ones dancing in the middle of the club. They're the ones drinking. Yo, post this on the gram for me. They look amazing, but they're performing. They're acting as if they're not hurt. And you can find the performer in your job. You can find the performer getting groceries. So those are the two. It's
interesting because after my divorce, one of the things I really sat with was, why do I even share on social media? And I had to really ask myself, where is this coming from? Is this a performer archetype within me? And I didn't even know that this was performer archetype. And what I came down to was that I genuinely, my whole life since I was a child, find joy in sharing. I've always been a writer. I've always been a dancer, an actor, like something like that. But I think sometimes our traumas are interlinked with our gifts. Of like, that was also my way of getting like attention from my parents of like, let me do this skit for you guys and things like that. So I was like, really had to sit with, imagine I just never shared on social media again. Who would I be? And realizing that I would still, because I think artist is my other one, I would still be an artist. I would still be all of these things. It's just today's vehicle of getting ourselves out there is social media. But I think it's a really important question to ask ourselves, you know, especially those of us who are content creators of like, where is the energy of this post coming from? Because it is very easy to get lost in that validation. You know, I think a shadow of the feminine is attention, you know, really wanting that attention, especially if you're not getting it from your romantic partner, of outsourcing it towards the world, you know, and to really sometimes just I would just delete the app on my phone for like a week just to like remember who I am without it. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think you did a really good job though, because when things went down, The world didn't know right away.
No, not for a while.
You know, so like you kept it low, and you did a good job. You're just a real person. You'll be a performer if you went on acting as if you weren't hurt.
Well, that's what's crazy to me, that I see people who are going through big divorces and you would never know from their social. And I'm like, that actually is what feels like a performer to me, of just
It
like
is.
pretending everything's fine. I'm like, what? You know?
It is. So there's a polarity, right? Too much of anything is not good for you.
Right.
So if you're too much of a lover, that's going to cause an imbalance. If you're too much of a performer is the negative aspect, but you need a positive and negative to everything. It's polarities, right? But when I say negative, is usually you'll find more of that the more out of balance a person is. But for you, I think you went about it the right way. And I think your strongest chakra of all is the sacral chakra. There's no doubt about it. You're one of the most creative people I've ever met in my life, like by far. So it makes sense. I told you they're twins. That sacral and that heart chakra, I find these two work very well with each other. I find the root works very well with the solar plex. They all work with each other. And for the sense of relationship, when I'm done,
throat is very connected with sacral.
100%, 100%. That's why I said after I go through all the 5 layers of energy through each chakra, I'm going to show you how they all work up with each other. So now you have the throat chakra, okay? What happens when the body's too much in fight or flight with the thyroid? Most people don't understand that most of the time when someone has issues with the thyroid, hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's, you can't find the problem there without high levels of cortisol. In fact, high levels of glucocorticoids, which is cortisol, inhibit thyroid stimulating hormone. Go look up the HPA, hypothalamus pituitary adrenal, and HPT connection on Google. You'll see a chart. Glucocorticoid that's released from the adrenal cortex inhibits thyroid stimulating hormone. The thyroid will make an effort to try to release more and rise. So a person would be seen as they have hyperthyroidism, or if it becomes autoimmune, which gets deeper, but let's just say hyper, person thinks that they're producing too much, and then before you know it, they go hypo. Cortisol was the root cause of that, right? Now, what's causing the cortisol? Inflammation, digestive issues. When I work with clients, we have to find the root cause, of course. But the nervous system, sympathetic nervous system, person with trauma has a sensitive nervous system, meaning, I hate to say it, for the rest of your life, you'll have a sensitive nervous system. You have to manage yourself. And there's a reason for that. Please remind me if I forget, because my brain has 1,000 things on. So please remind me if I forget on the reason. It's very important. It would inspire a lot of people listening to this. A person with a sensitive nervous system, I never in my life met somebody who was able to heal their nervous system. I'm sorry. I never heard of it. For the rest of your life, you have to manage it.
How do you know if you have a sensitive nervous system?
Come back to me with that. Because if I go in that, I'll lose this whole thing I have in my mind. When I talk, I see holograms. Not weird, but I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to make some connections. I want to make sure I deliver. You have the nervous system, sympathetic nervous system. We know that. The organ and gland, the thyroid and parathyroid start becoming imbalanced. The muscle, the neck, you'll find the person, their neck flexors, which are muscles that actually, if you take your tongue and you push them up against the roof of your mouth, you'll see this muscle flex down, right? Contract. Well, your neck flexors go down and actually connect into your abdominals, right? They go all the way down. A person that has issues with the throat chakra will have weak neck flexors and their head will go forward. We call that forward head posture, right? The emotions is this person doesn't know how to communicate. Either they're a person who overtalks every time you try to talk, or there's someone that never expresses on how they feel emotionally. And what I find is that sacral chakra, where there's an imbalance there, and the shielded archetype usually chokes up or has a hard time talking to authority or speaking up for themselves. They'll have that's an energy blockage. Emotions, emotion is getting blocked through the 5 layers of energy. The emotions of this person, it's really driven from the subconscious from 28 to 35 years old. They went through something consciously. They're going through the consciousness of communication. They're going to find this problem more at that time. People with the heart chakra, by the way, 21 to 28, you'll experience one of the biggest heartbreaks of your life.
21 to 28.
21 to 28. It doesn't have to be with a partner. You lost your father, your mother, you lost someone betrayed you. One of your best friends betrayed you. You go through stages of consciousness, and in order to know what love is, you have to know what a heartbreak is. Because that's what consciousness is, seeing polarity. You don't know what cold water is until you know what hot is. You don't know what love is until you know what hate is. Right? It's the gift and the curse. But as soon as we try to have expectations, or we want one thing to stay forever, that's like keeping the sun out all year round. You're going to burn the earth out. So you can't keep hustling. You can't keep this one lover in your life. A lot of times when you lose a lover, it's the universe pulling you away for you to go do work on yourself. We get more into that, but let me finish his throat. The subconscious, you'll find a person with the throat chakra become the mask self-archetype. They have two versions of them. They give the world a version of themselves to make everybody else happy. It's different than the people pleaser. The people pleaser is people pleasing all day. No, the mask self-archetype, they know who they want to be. They actually, they try to be that person when they're alone. But then they put a mask on. They go into an office, they're having a conversation. They don't care about this conversation. And they go, hey, Nate, how you feel? Oh my God, I love that. Oh my God. They change their voice. Their whole demeanor changes. Their persona changes. They put a whole mask on to fit in. You understand? So the functional part of this person is a communicator. It's someone, when you ever have an argument or you're talking to somebody, they keep over talking, and you just stop and pause and wait for them. You don't say, hey, you just show by example how to communicate. When everybody's yelling at each other and you just sit there and you're not yelling, you guys are done yelling. That's a communicator that's someone who mastered the communicator. Now, the 6th and 7th chakra, the 5 layers of energy with trauma, I keep it simple. I'm not going to go crazy with it. At the end of the day, the hypothalamus and pituitary are located in between the 6th and 7th chakra. Trauma is always going to cause an imbalance there. But here's 2 things that it can do. The 6th chakra, it can cause someone to have a 50-50 mindset. One day you want to take on the world and you believe in all your dreams. The next day you don't. In fact, 1 hour of the day you feel like you're going to take over the world with your dreams, and then 30 minutes later, you don't. And you have this battle between the new you trying to arise, but the old you pulling you right back down. And the only reason why that's happening is because a person does not know how to control their nervous system. As soon as that nervous system gets out of balance, everything gets out of balance. Okay? Then the last one, 7th chakra. A person is going to be subconsciously driven from fear with trauma, unless they balance that nervous system. When the body thinks it's in fight or flight, it doesn't go, oh, I'm in fight or flight. No, this body is built to be in fight or flight. If we're in the jungle, your body was built for survival. So when the body's in fight or flight, the psyche thinks something's trying to kill you right now. And it's fearful. So if you have a sensitive nervous system, you have cortisol in your body all day, and your psyche's like, yo, we're going to die. We're going to be in fear. You think you can go into work positive every day? You become delusional. And that's what I find with the 7th chakra. And no disrespect to anybody. I have to say my truth. You can find a lot of 7th chakra imbalances in Los Angeles. Respectfully.
The city of angels.
Respectfully, I'm sorry. You can find a lot of people delusional. And guess what? On the East Coast of New York, you can find a lot of people have issues with their root chakra. So I say the root chakra imbalances I find more in New York City. The 7th chakra, I find more problems in Los Angeles. And I'm like, I wonder what the Midwest is like.
Have you been sitting on the fence of becoming a Dharma soul purpose coach, waiting for the perfect time? Well, I'm so excited to share that our early bird is now open until March 3rd. So if you are interested and curious in learning more about creating a full-time career as a soul purpose and spiritual life coach, then becoming a Dharma coach at Highest Self Institute is for you. You can find all of the information, check out our curriculum, and book a free discovery call at our link below at Highest Self Institute, which you can find in the show notes. I'm so excited to have you live this cohort. It is so much fun. It truly is a portal of transformation, and it's the thing that makes my soul sing more than anything else. And I can't wait to have you in. So I used to spend an insane amount of money on massages and acupuncture and just like all of the things because I had so much shoulder tension for a really long time. And I actually really never need to get massages now. I mean, I still love them, but I never need to because I started using a PEMF mat. So these mats reduce inflammation, they boost mitochondrial function, increase circulation, reduce pain, slow down the aging process, improve sleep, relax the nervous system, and boost energy production. And I'm absolutely obsessed with Bon Charge's infrared PEMF mat. So they combine two powerful healing technologies to create the ultimate recovery tool. So the PEMF grounds you into Earth's magnetic field and uses other restorative natural frequencies for a full body reset, while the red and infrared light helps lower inflammation and speed up muscle recovery. I particularly notice it makes my shoulder tension gone, and also my dog loves it. Like, you know this shit works when your dog is going there. Bon Charge specifically has the lowest harmful EMF radiation readings on the market with zero flicker and a 660 nm red light, which is the most bioactive and healing wavelength of red light. They ship worldwide in rapid time, and they're actually offering listeners 15% off at boncharge.com/Sahara with coupon code Sahara. That's BONCHARGE.com/Sahara with coupon code Sahara for 15% off, and you can find that link in the show notes. Let's bring this into relationship now.
Yep.
So what I find commonly happens in relationship is women have the more anxious attachment that they're wanting to merge, to be in partnership, to dive deeper, to have conversations, to know where this is heading. And men, and I'm being stereotypical right now, I don't know, I want to take my time in space. I don't know. I don't want labels on things. My freedom, you know, let's just, and then they're talking to like 5 other girls. So What is the zones related to this?
Absolutely. What tends to happen is that if a woman, I'm about to get deep here. If a woman continues to attract a man like that, or a man's attracting a woman like that, right? But I know the audience is women. Your subconscious, if it's in fear and it's low vibe and it's low energy, is carrying a low vibration. You ever walk in a room and go, that was good vibes right there? You ever walk in a room and goes, that was bad vibes? And people think you're crazy? What do you mean? So everybody's nice. No. It's bad vibe. I'm leaving. Vibration and energy is real. The vibration that a person is at is all based upon where their 5 layers of energy are. For an example, you drink coffee with sugar, had cereal, had a sports bar, went to go do a high intense interval training class, you leave, and now your digestion's off, you're peeing a lot, your odor starts to smell, like your underarms start to smell even after cleaning yourself, and you can't get rid of overthinking, and you feeling negative, or you feeling very bad about just anything. The vibration of the body with more fear and trauma that is not controlled by the nervous system creates a low vibration. That low vibration is communicated through the 0-point field. The 0-point field is potential energy. It's energy waves that's everywhere and nowhere at the same time in quantum physics. So your low vibe goes out into the 0-point field. That 0-point field then pushes back and aligns you on a frequency with somebody else on that same 0-point field frequency that you attract and manifest into your life. The first thing you do in relationships, if a guy wants 5 girls and that is not something that you want to do, you say, okay, bro, good luck. That's when you use your personal power. But can you use your personal power? You got diarrhea? Can you use your solar plex if you're out here not controlling? You got to take care of yourself.
It's all the diarrhea's fault, guys. If you took one thing away from this podcast, fix your diarrhea. No more fuck boys.
No.
Here's the parallel. No.
Here's what I'm saying. What starts to happen is if we believe in manifesting, what makes you think you don't manifest the person that you love with all your heart into your life? I manifested my fiance 9 years ago. I did the same thing those guys were doing. I'm being real. I was in college. I got my heart broken when I was in college. I became a performer. I never drank. And when I was in college, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to drink. For 3 months, I was drinking, partying, dating girls, having girls fly to Delaware. I was a Division I football player. And I find myself talking about my ex with the girls that came. And then one of them called me out. She was from New York. She kept it real with me. She's like, yo, you talk about your ex a lot. You like a soft boy. I'm like, oh my God, no, I'm not. But she was right. And then I sat there and said to myself, I have all these women coming to me because I don't want to be alone. And they're actually making an effort of looking nice. They're making an effort of coming all the way to Delaware. And I'm just trying to distract myself. What kind of karma is that going to bring me? Swear to God, that's a true story. One of my good friends put me on a bus to Miami for winter break. I had 75 cents in my pocket. I went on a bus from North Bergen to Miami with Cubans. We got pulled over by ICE. That's a true story with dogs and stuff, but everybody was good. I got to Miami. It's a true story. I cried every day. I walked on the beach every day and cried and brought a notebook. 1996 Jeep. It was green. My friend let me use it. I went to the beach. I parked right there in South Beach Park. I walked and just crying for 2 hours, just crying. Then I'll sit down and I would draw the woman that I want to manifest into my life. Swear to God, I'm not lying. Birthmark on the cheek. Hair goes from curly to straight. But the biggest thing of all, this woman needed a dream because I'm a dreamer. I noticed what I really wanted. So the more you know you, the real you, the you never knew, the more you know what you're looking for. But do you really know yourself? 8 years later, we're in Miami, doing the Higher Self podcast, looking down in the same spot I used to cry.
Which is crazy because it's actually outside of Miami. It's like a small beach, which I don't live there anymore. It was called Sunny Isles. So
That's where I used to go.
Which is crazy.
I used to walk all the way up 2 hours.
Yeah.
But that was a place where people weren't drinking, right? In South Beach, you can drink. The same place that you were at when I went and looked down from that beautiful view, I said to myself, 8 years ago, I sat there and I cried. I cried because I was hurt, because I was homeless. And the woman that I found, I told everything to. The woman I was dating in high school. Yeah, I was in high school homeless and broke. You understand that? Like, I used to lie to people and say my grandma was in town. Because people started questioning me, why are you always going to that hotel in front of the Holland Tunnel? And I'm like, oh, my grandma's in town. Somebody pulled me aside, like, your grandma, you're lying. You live there. And I was very secretive. I was selling drugs for my dad, his pain meds to feed us. It was like I was 16 years old. I was a fat boy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wore the same clothes every day. And this one woman loved me. And her family took me in. I had my first real Christmas, Thanksgiving. Yo, it was like the most spectacular. They're the only ones that came to my football games in Delaware. And then she cheated on me. But they thought I was crazy. Everybody thought I was crazy. My family called me and they didn't want to talk to me because reverse psychology, I was pushing this person to a certain point where whatever. I don't want to call her out because I forgive her and I never want to make her feel bad, even though what happened was wrong. But I love her for everything she has done for me. You got me? If that never happened, I would never be here. If that never happened, I would never have found Haskiri. I've been with Haskiri for 9 years. I never cheated on Haskiri. I never broke up with Haskiri. Why? Because when Haskiri wakes up and she does something, I said, no. You don't do nothing for me. You go take care of yourself first. Because if you take care of me or you take care of the dogs, then you don't take care of yourself and you're going to cause an imbalance with yourself. Right? And same thing with me. I wake up, we have core values with each other. We have respectful core values and boundaries. But there's only one human being in my whole life who's been ride or die, who never turned their back on me, and that's Haskiri. But I manifested Haskiri. I was in Miami, swear to God. I went back to New York, New Jersey. I'm about to go to school. Next day, I'm about to go to school. I'm sitting there. My brother's using the bathroom. We're playing a video game. I'm like, oh, this one, I like playing a game with him. I just go on Instagram. I decided 3 or 4 months straight, I'm not dating nobody. There was girls, I was talking to, I respectfully said, hey, I apologize. This was my fault. This is not good. This is not a good look on me. I can't believe, I have to be honest with you, I'm heartbroken. I don't think I should be. So I took 4 months off of dating. 1 month in Miami with no money in my pocket. Literally no money. I get back home. I go on Instagram for the first time. I delete the apps too, by the way. I deleted the app. I opened it up for the first time. This woman just posted a photo of like 10 women. I saw her scary and I fell in love right away. I didn't believe the love at first sight. I didn't believe in that. No, I say I fell in love with this woman and I was upset. Nobody tagged her. So I went to the friend's page and looked for her scary. 5,000 people she had following her. I went to look for her scary. I happened to give up and say, you know what? She's not on none of these. There's a one page with a Selena default picture, 5,000 followers, and 5,000 followers only following 200 people. You gotta be bad to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta be popping to do that. And I just requested. The next morning I woke up, first picture was her scary. I'm like, yo. So now I'm making a game plan. How am I gonna DM her? And I went in her DM and I sent her a selfie. Not a nude, a selfie. Like, I'm smiling, you know? Like, I was like, you know, sent her a selfie. And I said to her, I know you get this a lot, but I'm coming off respectful. I want to introduce myself. My name is Nate, but my real name is Nathan. Only my mother calls me that when she's upset. And she got back to me right away and she says, hi, Nathan. My name is Haskiri. I'm an aspiring actress. And then she did that. I'm like, ooh, I got to play it off now. Like, I'm busy. You know, I'm broke. You know, I'm about to go to school tomorrow. And out of nowhere, I swear to God to you, this is a true story. She texts me and says, she DMs me and says, text me. I said, oh my God. I was thinking about how to get her number for like 3 hours. She FaceTimes me right away. I'm like, oh, I don't got a haircut. I'm not picking up the FaceTime. She's like, you're catfish. You only have 200 followers. I know you're catfish. And I was thinking she was catfish. We finally FaceTimed each other. And she goes, oh, you're not catfish. And she goes, why don't you have more followers? And I said, I'm going to be real with you right up front. I grew up with drug dealers. The hardest thing for me to do in my life is post my life on the internet. Because subconsciously, I had to protect myself and my family from enemies or, you know, like, that's how I was raised. And she goes, oh, wow, thank you for being honest. Do you like sushi? I was like, I love sushi. So I never had sushi a day in my life.
I love how bold she is, by the way. I didn't know all this.
Yeah. So she goes, okay, we should get sushi. So we hang up. I have no money. I had $12 that I knew would get me to Delaware. I had a 1996 Honda Accord 2-door, and the door was broke on the passenger side. Yo, my mother, who I've told stories about, who has mental health and drug addiction, comes into my father's house, walks in as soon as I hung up, and goes, hey, baby. I'm like, oh, hi, Mom. She goes, come here. I'm like, oh, she's going to tell me a story. She goes, here. She handed me $100. I couldn't believe it. I drive through New York City. So I grew up right there on the Hudson River. As soon as you go into New York, you got to pay like $15 back in the day when at this time. Now it's $17. So I'm like, oh, I'm only down to $85. I pick Haskiri up. Haskiri comes in my car. I fell in love with this woman. I fell in love with her so much, I was like shaking on the steering wheel. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you got to play it cool, bro. I parked in front of the fire hydrant on Broadway in Manhattan. I didn't care. I could not miss this date. We go into the place to go eat. There was a bunch of dudes from the hood there. It was a nice restaurant, but a lot of rappers go there and stuff. And I'm sitting here and there's a bunch of dudes. Now, PTSD. I'm not from this neighborhood. My nervous system won't do well if there's a bunch of dudes here that are from a certain neighborhood and I'm from a certain neighborhood. Even though I was the good boy, it's still PTSD for me. So I'm just sitting down. I don't know, Haskiri's like, excuse me, to the waiter. Can you move us? I was like, oh my God. She moved, because I'm not going to tell Haskiri, I was comfortable. Basically, we sit down, we have sushi, and then she goes, I love this. This is awesome. I said, can I be honest with you? I said, look, I'm broke. My mom's a drug addict. Sometimes I come home, I sell drugs for my father, his pain meds. Sometimes we sleep in hotels and, there's the only pair of jeans I have. And I was just so open with her. I said, but I'm going into my sophomore year in college and I believe one day I'm gonna be successful. I'm going to be successful. If you can just believe in me, I really like you. You're beautiful. And she just stopped me. She goes, it's okay. I can work. I can figure out how to make money. You go to school and we'll figure this out. I was like, now, I'm not trying to brag. Haskiri's one of the most beautiful women to ever come out of the neighborhood she's in. People actually would threaten me if I took that girl from, it's called Washington Heights, Dykeman. I had their main beautiful girl with a Jersey boy. They're like, yo, who's this Jersey kid coming over here, you know? But no, everybody, her father was like an OG and everybody, so we created a channel called Love Across the Hudson. We documented our life. She had a dream, I had a dream. She wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be a coach and an author and a speaker, and people thought we were crazy. And then I injured my spine. I was never supposed to walk again, went to 300 pounds. I was like, she's gonna leave me now. Because I became a football star that year when I started dating Haskiri. She's gonna leave me. I'm not going to the NFL no more. I was in the hospital. Haskiri came straight down. Haskiri was the one that got me to use, she helped me use the bathroom. I couldn't walk. I didn't know where I was gonna live. I graduated college. I had all my stuff packed. I didn't know where I was gonna live. I was so scared to say something to her because I didn't want her to think I was asking. I was raised differently than a lot of people. My father raised me off being a man that you figure stuff out yourself. And that's a side effect of being such a hustler that my father was, And subconsciously I had that. And I didn't want to, I'll sleep on the floor and I wouldn't even known you would have had a whole bedroom waiting for me because I wouldn't, like even here, you see, I'm not going to knock on the door. I don't push beyond, I have very strong respect for people. Haskiri's like, it's raining, my car breaks down. I graduated college. Everybody's going to dinner. And I'm just looking there with Haskiri and I'm like, I'm sorry, maybe I can make some money and maybe we can go to dinner. She said, don't worry about that. I said, well, we got to get this to my dad's house. I'm going to have to, stay with my dad. She goes, no. I talked to my father. My father said, you can move in with us. And I moved in with Haskiri. Haskiri's father brought me a camera when I got there. Haskiri told me how to edit a video. And that's how you know me today, from videos. Haskiri's father left me $20 every day. Every day he left me $20 on the countertop. And he said, I believe in you. And Haskiri's father is an OG from Washington Heights. He's not like, he's an OG. He's well-respected. He changed his life as soon as he had kids. He brought me everything that his kids got for Christmas, I got. He took me food shopping to help me lose the weight. I was 302 pounds, 302.5. He helped me save my money. He didn't ask me for rent. He said, no, just get your education. I got all my certifications, all of that. So to this day, I noticed my ego try to play games with me because the inner child is getting attention from women all over the world. I noticed that. And I would tell Haskiri that. I said, I notice my ego is, seeing that I like when women like something of me or something in that nature. But the thing that shuts it down all the time is that woman would never be attracted to me in 2016 like Haskiri was, And when it comes down to having multiple relationships and doing all these things, whatever makes a person happy, cool. Bro, it's a lot of work to be in one relationship. Like I got things I got to do. Like one relationship is a lot. Multiple or cheating, I don't got time for that. And I sit down with Haskiri once a year and I say, are you happy in this relationship? Because if you're not happy or you want to experiment something else, you want to take a break, I want that for you. You're 28, I'm 30, we're young. You only have one life. In fact, I moved this out of her father's house. I got hired to be a CEO of a gym at 24 years old at Westchester. I blow the gym up all by studying books and just learning on how trial and error. And Haskiri, I supported her for 5 years. She quit her job. She doesn't work with me. Your job is your dream. And that was acting. 5 years it took for her to blow up. Then she booked Saved by the Bell. Then she got a movie that's in Sundance. Now she has a whole bunch of movies. And when her dream came true, and she made more money than I made in 5 years in 1 month, I told her, you go to LA by yourself first. Because you never been to college. You never been away. You think I wanted to say that? I felt insecure about it. And I knew I had to do it. Carl Jung says, as soon as you find the fear, run towards it, face it, because that's where the growth needs to be done. So yeah, Haskiri and I, she's my fiance now, but that's a true story. So love, imagine I never heard from my ex. After she did what she, never heard from her. 4 or 5 months after she did, never, you expect your ex to hit you up. You check your emails, your phone, you look around, Instagram. She never hit me up. Never. The first time she ever hit me up, can you guess? The date that I was with Haskiri. 4 months of not hearing a word from her. I'm sitting there, I'm looking at Haskiri, boom, I get a text message by her, my ex. That's the universe testing
They can
you.
always feel it.
But that right there is the collective unconscious testing you. That's the old you using a trick, trying to stop you from changing. The old you doesn't want you to change. So the old you has a great relationship with your ego, your shadows, and your subconscious mind, and teams up and communicates with the collective unconscious, bringing you bad luck or circumstances, all which you're weak at. So yeah, there's a true story. So it's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's a blessing, but at the same time, I'm not losing a love, but I lost 8 family members in the last 2 years. You know, when you're the successful one in your family, you're the one that's putting up the money. You're the one flying grandma. You're the one hosting, right? So trauma, when you have a sensitive nervous system, if I didn't know how to balance my sensitive nervous system, I would be lost in my life. But you know what I found out about trauma? For those that are fighting with trauma, that those that are never satisfied with trauma, there's something I call a 1%er. A 1%er is someone who's doing things in the family DNA that has never been done before. The 1% is not cool with a normal life. The 1% was the first one to go to high school, go to college. Usually not the reason why they call 1%, because the chances of them doing what they're supposed to do is only 1%. What's the chances you getting a book deal?
Less than 1%.
1.67% last time I checked in 2023. Mm-hmm. Getting a Division I scholarship was 1%. Not being in jail right now was a 1% chance. Both of my parents went to jail. Not being an addict, 1%. Getting an author, a book deal, 1%. Buying the house that I have, 1%. And everybody listening here, 1%. Why? Here's a nice little theory I have. Not theory, but it's a story that I sat down and wrote down. A 1%er agreed to come here. A 1%er knew they were going to go through trauma. A 1%er has to go through trauma. Because the only way that a 1%er can have a navigation system on earth for the soul to understand when they're going down the wrong road is with pain. Therefore, a 1% is so sensitive to sugar, too much noise in a room, too much negativity, can't watch scary movies. 1% is our nervous systems are too sensitive for that. But if a 1%er doesn't come across another 1%er, so if you're a 1%er, dating someone who's not a 1%er is going to be very hard.
Yep.
Because I don't like to party. I never did hard drugs in my life. I can't drink. My liver is sick from when I was born on heroin as a newborn and went through the ICU treatment. My liver got messed up from it. So a 1%er can't date or can't be in a lifestyle of those that are not 1%ers. So people go, Nate, how do I find more 1%ers? You got to invest in 1%ers. You got to invest in them. Invest your time, invest money. All the 1%ers I have in my life, I invested time or money. Time or money. A 1%er came here to do a job because the universe, evolution, Earth cannot afford their DNA to not go the opposite route. Meaning, if that DNA, if mom was an addict, then you're an addict, your kid's an addict, your DNA falls off Earth. Each DNA is a memory card and basically has a beautiful connection to the ancestors and leaves traits subconsciously within a human being. And it's needed for evolution. Everybody's DNA, everybody's ancestor came here and did something amazing. We need that trait. We need that skill set. So the 1%er gears up. The creator sits down with the 1%er and goes, okay, we need you to go down there. You ready? 1%er goes, yes. The creator went to the 1%er because the creator knew immediately that the 1%er had a pure heart, because the 1% has been here so many times and always came out with a pure heart, never got attached to materialistic things, never feared man's laws. The 1% never did that. But if the 1%er comes here and is not reminded that they're a 1%er, when they grow up, they first go through feeling that they don't fit in. So I find women at a young age, when they don't know how to communicate from their heart and they got a body, they find that that's a way for them. They don't go out there and communicate. Men come up to them and communicate through sexual desires. And if that's the only connection that a woman had, they never learned on how to communicate with their solar plex, with their heart chakra, with their throat chakra, using their intuition or trusting the universe. Can't be mad at them, all right? I have a little quote that I tell clients, I want you to see the other side. Not all men are like this. Not all friends are negative, you know? No, you have to see the other side. In order to do that, you have to raise your own vibration. You got to work with you. Let me ask you a question. For those that are listening, you want to be in a relationship so bad. When's the last time you was in a relationship with yourself? How many of you actually sat there and had a real relationship with yourself without being stressed, without being inflamed, without being in fight or flight or safety and security? You had a real relationship with yourself. Not a lot. So now, the little bit of time you get to have a relationship with yourself, we're chasing somebody, and then you go back to the example you made. Bro said that he wanted 5 girls and stuff. Bro, we don't got time for that. When you know, so root, I got to pull you back to your roots. So we're going to go right up the chain. Root chakra, I got to pull you back to your roots. Root causes of your nervous system being out of balance. You're not eating enough protein. Just like that. They want to tell you protein's bad. They say that. They're going to keep saying that because it's going to keep you out of balance. Fiber, water, chakra, sacral chakra. Watch how much water they drink throughout the day. You'll be lucky if you see them drink enough water. The more imbalanced they are in the sacral, ask them the last time they danced or sang. Now, write that date down and then go, you got PCOS or you have diabetes, you have, yeah, I do. Okay, when did you get diagnosed? You'll always find it happens to be exactly when they stop dancing and singing. That's not a coincidence, right? But where's the science? Where's the science? I can show you a lot of the science, but that's usually the other side's, the polarities challenge to us. The root chakra, I got to get you back to your roots. Your culture. Some of us try to run so far away from our culture to fit into the world. Happened to me. I became an alter ego Professor Nate. Last time I was on this podcast, the first time I came with my gold chain showing. Second time I came down, I came with a collar shirt. Professor Nate, hoping to be accepted by the world. Now I come in all black with some Jordans on. Let's get this. Let's go to work. Because I had to get back to my roots. When I was on the podcast last time, I told you, you guys heard the first one? I was a hero to a lot of people. Second one, I'm like, yo, I got to be real with you. I'm messed up right now. I got to figure, I have adrenal fatigue. I was 276 pounds when I sat down there last year in Miami. I'm saying right now, 240 pounds. I'm 36 pounds down. I got back to my roots, the root causes to my problems, my culture, right? Getting to your music, dancing to your culture music. People always try to put me on with other music. I'm like, yeah, that's cool, bro, but I like hip hop. There's nothing wrong with me liking hip hop or rap or jazz or R&B, right? And that's just get to your people. How many of you are trying to date your people? How many of you are around your people? You ever been in a room with people that is not your people? It's awkward. My jokes are not funny. That's how I know. I'm not saying the funniest person in the world, but as soon as I say something that I'm like, oh, that was funny and nobody's laughing, I'm like, oof, that's not my group of people. The sacral. The first thing we have to do is we have to figure out your purpose. What's your pursuit of purpose in life? Pursuit of purpose, not purpose, because people feel guilty if they're not living it right now. Whoa, slow down. You're going You're living it, and there's never a destination with your purpose. Never. You're 1%, you're never satisfied. What's your purpose? That's number one. Number two, what is stopping you from living your purpose? Oh, you'll find, do you have space in your house? Do you have a room dedicated towards just working on your goals, your purpose, your meditations? Or do you try to do this in the same living room where grandma's walking around, or, the bedroom? You don't have, you're not creating a conscious space for it. Subconsciously, the body would get, used to it. Do you compare yourself? I can't create a podcast because Sahara has the same podcast. Or I can't do this because this person has this. A lot of people stop themselves from living their purpose because they compare themselves. There's only one of you ever. Ever. Okay, solar plex. Now, relationships. Sacral, stick to your roots. So say if a guy wants something out of you in a relationship, but in your culture, that's not what you do, your culture's wise. I think sometimes we get too, yes, we want to be able to move away from overthinking or situations where it's holding us back. No doubt about it. With our cultures, of course. But culture is wise. You know the science behind kosher?
Kosher?
Kosher, eating kosher.
Yeah.
Kosher meat. Do you know the science behind it?
I think because the pigs had diseases back then, so they had like kosher and halal to not eat the pigs.
Religions, if you study, each religion has a specific thing with the way you eat an animal and why you eat it. And the thing that came up to me, because it's a culture thing, right? People think it's just culture. If you kill an animal peacefully, the animal doesn't release adrenaline and cortisol. Therefore, their blood is not full of stress hormones that then get sucked right into the adipose tissue, which is your fat tissue with toxins. Whew. But sometimes we don't respect our cultures. So how does your culture go about things of dating a guy that wants to be with 5 different people? That's number one. Number two, safety and security. Get back to your roots. You got your own money? You know how to make your own money? You safe and secure? Or do you have to depend on a man for that? And when I say depend on a man, I'm not saying, here's what happens. It's a trap that men can do to women. You ready? They take you away from your dream. They tell you need to be a modern person or whatever, right? You need to work, you need to stay home. They take your dream away. They get you pregnant. They keep you home. And then now they do what they want. And if you want to leave, they took away your skill set from you working on your skill set. They took you away your bank account's their bank account. I hope a lot of women get out of that situation, right? Haskiri and I, always in our relationship, if I see her account not as hefty as mine or vice versa, I always make sure Ree has more money in her account than I do. All the time. Why? Because I know one of the things that make her feel safe is not having a bunch of money, but I never even want her to work for it or even think about it when it comes down to that, right? I mean, like I said, Haskiri, one point, was making a lot more money than me, and I had no problem with that. You know a bunch of men that get mad at women that make more money? I don't. I don't. Like, none of my guy friends get mad at their wife is. In fact, all of my guy friends and myself at one point had our fiance wife had make more money than us, and we celebrated. Like, yo, we getting bread, because it's a team. My money's your money. I've always said that to Haskiri. It is. Okay. Do you say no? So now we got you back to your roots. You get back to your culture. Protect yourself. Safety and security. Ground yourself. Take care of yourself with your nutrition so your nervous system doesn't get overwhelmed. Move your body. High vibe walk. Emotions, energy, and motion. Are you not moving your body? The more you walk, go in a neighborhood that's a high vibe, not a bad neighborhood, a high vibrational neighborhood. Put headphones on. Think about the person you want to become. Listen to a positive podcast or positive music. I call it a high vibe walk. Inhale through the nose. You'll tickle the little hairs in your nose. That will stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. Opposite of the fight or flight. A person will start grounding themselves. Visualize the person that you're becoming and watch how you feel after 60 minutes of walking. That's grounding yourself. That's done. Sacral, drink more water. Get clear on your purpose and don't be too hard on yourself. Solar plex, you got to say no now. Now, you have to create core values and boundaries. So if someone wants you to do something that goes against your purpose, your sacral, no. Your yes isn't good enough until you learn how to say no. Your heart chakra, you see who respects your no or not. Those that respect your no, get on your dream team. They get your love when you have time to give love and energy. Those that don't, now you protect your energy from those. When you have a team of people, when you know when you're rooted and you're grounded, you got your purpose, you know how to say no, you got a dream team. When it comes down to the fifth chakra of speaking up for yourself, you're 100% speaking up for yourself now. There's no blockage. Then there's no 50-50 mindset with the sixth chakra. And then there's no fear. You walk off just faith with the seventh.
So I want to swing back to the sensitive nervous system. I did not forget. How is that different than 1%er? It seems like it's quite similar.
It is. Every 1%er has a sensitive nervous system. A nervous system that would detect is kind of like when you're driving on a highway and your car goes off, the car goes, and it will pull you back on. A sensitive nervous system, people, 1%ers can't drink a lot. 1%ers can't depend on man-made things too much.
So a sensitive nervous system is someone who's a 1%er, but also sounds like an empath.
There you go. I mean,
an intuitive, a spiritual person.
There you go. But what they don't realize is they can be looked at as they're crazy.
For sure.
Right? I have a quote, crazy people make me feel crazy. You're an empath, Nate? Who do you think you are, bro? I'm a 1%er. You can't take that away from me, and you can't take that away from the listeners. When they sit down and start noticing that, why is that more, for me, from what I teach, more important? Because they're alone. They're alone. 1%ers are alone a lot. I flew here by myself today. I drove from Studio City to here by myself. I'm always alone outside of my relationship because you're a great friend of mine. You're a 1%er. When we get together, it's on. But we cannot talk for 4 or 5 months and then come right back and talk like as if we were just chilling yesterday because that's 1%er energy. But you're alone a lot. And you may be one, 1%ers here and there. But now your family is going to question you. My family's going to question me. And if we say, Mom, I'm an empath, they're going to be like, Nate, sit down. Come here, let me talk to you. I told you about saying that in front of family. They can tear you down like that. I'm a 1%er. I make the impossible possible. I do. You do.
So do you think that maybe though in relationship that sometimes it's good to like counterbalance it with someone who's just a little bit more like grounded and like conventional?
I see somebody I personally know that's very close to me that's with somebody like that. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work well. I see it all the time, but I want to use this person because I'm very close to this person. They are questioned all day. A 1%er is never satisfied. The other side, this person's satisfied. They don't get it. So they'll say, this is your trauma doing this to you. That triggers a 1%er. Because a 1%er doesn't feel seen. Therefore, they're alone again. Now they go in the kitchen by themselves. Mm-hmm. So for me too, it's like I only want to be in a relationship with someone I feel inspired by. Bars.
Like if I don't feel inspired by you, what are we doing? Because when you're in a relationship with someone, you are becoming them. Like literally you're merging with them. Like even if you're not creating a child, you're creating the act that creates life with them. So it's like, do you want to create life with this person?
Exactly. And do you want to explain yourself every single time? If I tell Skip, I got to get on a plane tomorrow, she knows what's up.
So what about someone who's already in a relationship with someone that's not a 1%er? Can they?
And they're a 1%er?
Yes.
And we have to figure out what the problem is. Because what we don't want to do is you can have some really beautiful human beings dating 1%ers, right? That are innocent. I don't want people to start arguing with their partner, like, you're not a 1%er, but I'll say this. You ready? What is your dream? What's your purpose? What's your core values? What's my purpose? What's my core values? Start there. If your dream and purpose is I'm just making this up, is to have a family today and move to a different country, but my purpose and my dream is to be in New York and start a business, right there. You start there. Figure that out. You got me? You got to figure that out before you... People dance too much with arguing. Haskiri and I, we don't go past 5 minutes. I don't do the arguing thing. What's the problem? 90% of the time, I'm wrong when we argue. 9 out of 10 times, I'm wrong. It could be because I thought I left the keys on the kitchen table. And she goes, no, you probably left it in the closet like you always do. I'm like, I would never leave the keys in the closet. Then I go in the closet and the keys in the closet. And I said, my bad, you're right, like you always are, 9 out of 10 times. But when I feel like I'm right and I know I'm right, I say, look, 9 out of 10 times, you're right. But right now, I'm right. I'll admit when I'm right. So sometimes you have to teach your partner how to be honest, how to be upfront, how not to lie, how to take personal responsibility. Now, each person goes through a stage of an archetype. So if you're dating somebody that's stuck in the first stage of development, human development, of the child archetype, one that doesn't take personal responsibility for their life, like men or people that are not going to get that job, they talk a good game, but they're not going to do it. You can't be in this relationship trying to do it for them because you're enabling them to get to the warrior archetype. And the only way you go from the child archetype to the warrior archetype is taking personal responsibility. How many people you know that's 50 years old that still act like a child?
Well, I think a lot of dynamics are women are very intuitive, so they can see all the things that are missing in the relationship in the man's life, but then they take on the mother role, which then the man takes on the child role, and then that kills their sexual polarity, and they both become resentful.
I lost my gym in 2020 during COVID. I lost everything. I came to LA. Remember, Haskiri went to LA without me. I went to LA, and I'm going around and Haskiri's all over the billboards. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, yo, I was just a man. And people called me Haskiri's boyfriend. I'm like, no, my name is Nate. Then I remember I lost safety and security. I lost my community. The gym was only supposed 2 weeks of a wave. Not 2 months went by, then they sold the gym. And I remember I was complaining every day for like a month. I was depressed and I was complaining. First time in my entire life I saw Haskiri get turned off by me. She's not used to that version of me. She doesn't know that version of me. But then I would say, look, you don't care. You're selfish. Look at you. Oh, now you're in Hollywood. Now, you see, now I'm projecting my insecurity, right? And then like on week 4, I woke up one morning and I'm like, yo, bro, you've been acting like a child. So then she comes home from filming and I say, these last 4 weeks, I take personal responsibility for it. I'm complaining. You're not used to me complaining. You're not attracted to me being a man complaining. You like when I figure things out. That's what I'm going to go do. And I figured it out, right? So yes, but you see how I'm honest in your relationships? If a person's not dating a 1%er, are you honest with each other? You know, are you honest with each other? But what I find is if you're looking for a person, you can see if they're 1% or not. You can run into some fake 1%ers. You got to be careful. They'll pull up in a nice fancy car and they'll talk about how much money they have and all this. And you find out that they're broke and you don't want to go down that lane. A real 1%er is someone who really wants the best for you. You're a real 1%er. You know that, right?
I'm a 0.001%.
No. Yeah, you said that to me. You said that to me. But you are, when I came to LA, you think you meet a lot of 1%ers. You were the first real 1%er I've ever met in LA. I was so surprised, and I didn't meet you in LA, but I was here at the time. A 1%er doesn't do things for themselves. When they meet another 1%er, they want to hand them a hand.
Yeah.
They want what's best for them. Oh, I can see that for you. Like, oh, she excited for this. Oh, wow. But that's just 1%er energy.
Oh, so the first time we met, I was like, you need to write a book.
Yo, you said,
you are writing this book.
You said you need to write a book. And I'm like, I couldn't read or write. You know, the first time I've ever wrote anything was just this past couple months. And after writing that book.
Learns how to write, writes a book.
You said, how was the book going? I said, yo, it changed my brain. Immediately you text me back. Writing a book rewrites you. I'm like, that's a bar. That's a bar. I guess she's been through the same thing, but that was the biggest fear in my life, is writing that book. You know, the hardest thing that I ever had to do at one point was writing that book. And There's nothing I'm ever more proud of in my entire life than writing that book.
Yeah.
Now, it's 90% done. We're going through the second revisions, but it does come out at the end of the year. And I can't wait for people to have it. It's the best thing I've ever done in my life.
Hands down. So before we end the conversation, I want to bring it back to the heart.
Yes.
And I think what happens oftentimes when we have our heart broken, we disconnect from the heart chakra. We don't trust ourselves. Every time you meet a guy, you text all your friends, what do you think of that he said? What do you think of his picture? What do you think I should do in this situation? I caught myself majorly doing that, to ask my friend, pull a tarot card for me, something, because you kind of like outsource your own discernment because you're like, well, I chose my ex, so I can't trust myself anymore. So how can we regain that trust within ourselves and start to make decisions from our own heart? And even your story too, I think for a lot of women, they're like, what if I invest in a man and he never changes? He never becomes like how Nate had this shift. So I think a lot of women are also afraid of falling in love with a man's potential.
You fall in love with your own potential first. So the way you reconnect with the heart chakra is you got to love yourself. Not looking in the mirror saying, oh my God, I love you. No, I'm saying feeding yourself on time. People with trauma don't feed themselves. People with trauma give their money and time to everybody else. This is the time you do this for yourself. I went to Miami because I just focused on me for a month in 2014, 15. I literally sat with myself. When you're looking for confirmation, that's the solar plex. You don't know thyself. You don't know yourself. And the heart chakra starts off with the more you pour love within yourself, the more you can give it to somebody else. But if you're brokenhearted and you don't have love, then how are you giving it to somebody else? How are you getting in a relationship with somebody? We're not taught on how to love ourselves. Going to bed on time is it's a form of self-love. Feeding yourself, educating yourself, following your dream. What kind of movie you want to see? How many of you date somebody, you always go to the movies and see the movies they want to see? Have they ever sat in on a girl flick? Right? No, you do that for yourself right now. When a person loves themselves and knows themselves, they carry a very strong vibration with the heart chakra where they don't need anybody else to tell them who's good for them or not. They know. They know. But you'll never know that if you never actually take the time to love yourself. And you love yourself feeding yourself, moving your body, what's your purpose, saying no, protecting your energy, and allowing yourself to rest without feeling guilty. And guess what you do when you do that, my friend? You balance out that sensitive nervous system. And if you balance out that sensitive nervous system, then the organs, glands, muscular system, emotions, and subconscious mind are no longer triggered from that nervous system. And then you can have an opportunity to rewire that. And with these new habits that you're putting in, called the 3-3-3 method, do it for 3 days. You got motivation. And then after 3 weeks, you make a habit. But if you do it for 3 months, you become it. And in life, it's not about what you get. It's about who you become. It's all about who you become. Millionaires, take the $1 million away from them. Give them a couple months, they become a millionaire again. Take a person who wins the lottery. They got $1 million. They didn't become a millionaire. They lose that money, they never become a millionaire again. You see what I'm saying? You can't cheat. You can cheat man, you can't cheat God. And when I say God, I'm talking about the universe. I'm talking about, I always have an example of man versus God. God, the creator, the universe, has polarities and the sun is coming up tomorrow, my friend, and it's going down. As much as we can lie about it or we can try to create fear about these things, you can't cheat that. You need rest. All soil on earth needs to be fertilized to be able to create good nutrition. You need good nutrition in your body. You understand? The sun hitting your skin creates cortisol. The moon pulling your body pulls up melatonin and emotions. That's why on full moon, most of you walking around with your emotions on the next level. If you don't understand how to connect yourself with the universe and tap back in with you, then you'll never know who's good for you or not. And that's why, one of the reasons why I call it the you never knew. And it's just not the book title. It's it's my statement. How many I'm getting into the new, I'm becoming the me I never knew in my life. Never. I never knew this version of me. I don't care what anybody thinks of me anymore. I used to, big time. I used to be scared. I used to want the G-Wagon because I wanted you to think I was successful. I don't need that G-Wagon for anybody to think I'm successful. But that is new for me. I know how to say no when a family member asks us for money. I didn't know how to do that. You understand? So I'm becoming, before I wrote the book, I said, I'm not writing a book if I'm not to me I never knew.
Yes.
Because I'm faking it. You got me? So how do you get into, when you know yourself, would you think about, I was going to say somebody, but I didn't want to make somebody up and you guys got problems. Think about somebody you personally know in your life that knows nothing of a situation or thing that you know of. You're going to go ask them for advice?
And that was the biggest thing when I was discovering my Dharma. I went on an advice detox of stopping asking people for advice. And it's such a thing that as women we're trained to do, ask advice for us. And I'm like, advice detox. And I found myself, about 6 months after my divorce, I was like, I'm going to just stop. No more psychics, no more tarot cards, no more checking what's happening in the astrology, no more asking my friends, what should I text back this? I'm just going to do it on my own. And now it's like, and I had to kind of like quit these things cold turkey because it makes us think like it's helping, but it's actually really holding us back from the ultimate tool that we have, which is our intuition.
Intuition. The more, listen, you can cheat man, you can't cheat God. I'm going to make that an affirmation. The more you raise your vibration, right? You work with you love you, the 5 layers of energy are back in balance, your vibration is high. Now, in the collective unconscious, your high vibe gets pushed out into 0 point field. That 0 point field finds a frequency that finds someone that matches with you and brings you right along. For those that are kind of skeptical about the 0 point field, your cell phone connects perfectly to a antenna or a phone line. Every time I call your number, I get you, right? Mm-hmm. I never get your cousin by an accident because they found a way how to code that phone number within a chip that communicates directly on a frequency to that antenna that it never makes a mistake. So they're using a 0 point field, but they're empaths. Crazy, right? If we say that, then, oh no, that's a little woo-woo. No, that's called quantum physics.
Yes.
So the more you work on you, the more high vibe you are, the more you're gonna attract it. Stop trying to control it. You can get in your own way.
And also knowing that your soulmate, whatever you want to call it, exists. They're alive right now, and sometimes I like meditate and I communicate with his soul, and I'm like, whatever it is that you're doing right now, wherever you are, like I see you. I'm so grateful for what your journey is. And I know that we're both preparing ourselves for whenever is the time that we're meant to meet. And I trust the fact that we have not met means we are not ready to, because I've seen everything in my life has unfolded when I was ready. And had it happened sooner, I wouldn't have been able to hold it. And I think there's one thing, we're trying to manifest something. Great. You meet the person, you can't hold the relationship. I mean, that's a fucking heartbreak right there.
Yo, straight up. I would have never met Haskiri. When I lost my first partner, like my first long relationship, I was broke. My phone was under her line. She was like being that mother for me. And I had mother trauma growing up. You see that? When we broke up, I sat down and I said, I have to figure out how to make money for myself. I have to work on all my weaknesses. I used to be insecure with her. So imagine if you're young. That's why I said I don't want her to feel like I'm not dissing her. We were young. And I had my part. I was so insecure. You can't wear those jeans. I don't want you around here, because I was so scared of losing her that I was trying to rob her from her beauty, manipulate the way where she goes and what she wears. That was me. I said, you are never getting in another relationship until you overcome insecurity. You got to make your own money. So I found all my weaknesses. So for those that are listening, you got to be honest with yourself. Write down the weaknesses, and it's good that we can see it. If we can see subconsciously what is, pulling us maybe not to have healthy relationships or not be able to attract that person, we can work on ourselves. That's something we have in control.
And it's like, would you rather meet him now and not have the relationship that you want because you're carrying these limiting beliefs and projections, or wait another few months or even few years to like have such a beautiful relationship that may take you for the rest of your life? It's like, I would rather wait a few years and have that than just because you don't want to be alone, just have something right now. And I think that that's oftentimes, it's again that fear of being alone and not having that makes us rush into things.
Absolutely.
That now I see, especially those of us on a growth journey, I'm like, every single month I'm such a different person. Like last month,
You're a whole different person.
Yeah, like it keeps changing.
I love it.
That it's like, so if the last month version of me met him, I would be in that version of me in the relationship, and the month before that, and the month before that. So then you're so grateful that you're healing all of these things within yourself when you're single, because then you don't have to like address those things or even have those things ruin the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I think you're going to be growing for the rest of your life. You also can't wait until like, okay, I'm good, totally healed now, let's roll, and you're going to grow in different ways, and different traumas and triggers will show up in the relationship. But I'm like, if I had gotten the book deal for my first book that I tried, I wouldn't have my career. Deepak Chopra would not have written the foreword of that book, because it was like my own modern version of Ayurveda. I needed to write the official Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda with his same publisher for him to trust to write the foreword. I was devastated. I spent 2 years writing that book and I didn't get a book deal, but now I can see why. So it's like, it always makes sense when you look back, but when you're in it, you're like, why is this happening? And it's like, trust that same red thread that's brought you to this moment, this moment right now is a story that one day you're going to tell.
Yeah, but and also you have a sensitive nervous system. When somebody messes with your heart, and you're a 1%er, you're sensitive. It's not the same. You will be seen as you're overreacting. 1%ers are known to overreact or overthink. No, we just feel everything and we just see everything.
We feel it all.
Yeah.
I was such a fact about like, I can't watch scary movies.
No.
And my ex wanted to watch scary thriller, all these dark things. I was like, I literally will have a nightmare for the next week. I'll have to sleep with the lights on. Like I physically can't do it,
Also, big crowds. Again, you can find 1%ers with big crowds. That can be kind of challenging. Take a 1%er to a low vibrational neighborhood. You'll see them start shutting down really quick. I'm gonna be real with you. Sometimes I'll have a client come into town and they don't know what I'm doing. And I'm if I'm taking them to dinner, I'll take them, they don't know where we are. I'll take them through a specific neighborhood that looks nice, but I know it's low vibe, and I'll start seeing problems with them. I do these things and I'll let them know. I do these things to make sure that I'm not delusional, but I no longer need that confirmation for myself no more. But it's interesting. I have to teach them, like, look, you have to, so I take the same route around my house and stuff like that. There was something that I want to say to you that you brought up that was really sharp and really good. You have to get clear on what partner you want. That's very important. Then after you get clear, take a piece of paper, draw a stick figure in the middle of a piece of paper.
Which we're going to do after this.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have to put it down on paper, because how does the collective unconscious communicate with your subconscious mind? Through symbols and dreams and ideas. And images. We can push it right back into the collective unconscious. Like, hey, bro, we got to get this thing going. You draw a stick figure. Keep it simple. Draw a stick figure and do a bullet point first. Okay, where does he live? What does he do for a living? It doesn't have to be like specific, but maybe he's in entertainment, right? Or maybe he's only in business. And then what's his favorite kind of food? What genre of TV does he like? And you just list them and you have fun. Put high vibe music in the background, sip on some tea, and let yourself feel it as you're doing it. And you're connecting the emotion with the subconscious, communicating that through a symbol, through the collective unconscious. And I was doing this since I was a kid. I never read a book about these things until I came across Napoleon Hill's work of the importance of your mind and connecting to it, your thoughts. So number one. Then number two, you got to be realistic with yourself, all right? So let's just say you want a person that happens to be, I'm just going to say like an entertainer. And you're going to a Wall Street party in New York City. There's a great chance he may not be there. Or if you want to go for a man that's spiritual, that's an investor, and all these amazing things, and then there's a party in the middle of the hood that is going down that you know is not safe, But you like, I'm gonna find my dream man there. Nah, he may not be there. So the avatar, we have to learn on where that that you got to think about it like marketing. Where can I get this? Where's their interest? What's their interest? What's their interest? What's their behaviors? And then you'll find that. Another thing is business conventional
Yeah,
in
conferences.
Atlanta.
Oh, Atlanta, okay.
Yes. Why? Why Atlanta?
There's a lot of mixed people of different colors, ethnicities there.
Black men, the most successful, you can find the most successful black and brown people in Atlanta.
Yeah. Okay.
You see how we just direct market? Now, if we said go to Montana and you go, Nate, I couldn't find them. I'm like, yeah, he's not going to be there. And if he is, his name, he's going to be a different type of person, right? So you got to get really clear. I knew I wasn't going to find my dream girl in the club. But, you know, I knew I wasn't going to. I found Haskiri on DM before people made it a DM thing. But Haskiri and I like to do the same thing. You know, we like to watch comedy. We like to, you know, make fun snacks at night. She's a foodie. I'm a foodie. We love music. We're homebodies, you know? But
I feel like you can't even plan out the timing of meeting someone. Like you just saw her picture and your souls knew.
Yes, that's true. No, that's 100% true, without a doubt. But I followed her friend because her friend was going to school and her friend had a lot of the same behaviors and interests and values that I had. You see what I'm saying? So I met him through.
I want a guy that doesn't even have a social media account.
There you go. Let's get it.
Yeah.
So now let's backtrack. Pow, 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 pow. You and I.
Turning into my
We're going to go to Maine, New Hampshire. We're going to go west Pennsylvania. We're going to go to places that you can't. No, I'm playing with you. I'm playing with you. No, you know, you can definitely find somebody.
You mean we're going to Nigeria? No.
I was going to say that. But
Ghana.
Yeah. But listen, then but then you'll meet a lot of men over there that don't want to come here.
Yeah.
They're going to want you to stay there. The real 1%ers over there, you know? You know I'm Nigerian, right?
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm half black, half white. We did my DNA and 50% of African, right? But majority of my African percentage was Nigerian, 14.9%. And then everything else was like all down West Africa.
And you know I'm part Ethiopian.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
Yeah. So I guess we're doing an Africa trip.
Yeah, we have to. I want to take my dad to Africa. He's 60 now, so I want to take him to Africa. But I say that to say you got to get clear on who you want to date. You know, who do you want? What do you want? And see if subconsciously you want somebody that mom wanted for you.
No, I'm done with that one.
No, but you can run into people like that still, right? Or see if you're trying to date someone that makes you feel safe financially.
Well, I think safety is an important thing for the feminine.
It's 100% an important thing, but a woman with a sensitive nervous system, you know what? I'm not even going to go there with the science. I want to say something here.
Sure.
You know, because I don't prep for this, by the way.
Okay.
You know, I don't even know what kind of questions we get. You know, I just pull up and I'm like, all right, let's talk. I don't think women are safe in today's world.
No.
And
I got my freaking flat broken into in London.
Yeah, women are not safe in today's world. It just hit me one day when I woke up in the morning. I was just drinking coffee.
Welcome to having a vagina. We were raised knowing this. Men are like, wow.
You know,
it's like you park your car and you're thinking it. You're living life. You're constantly on guard as a woman.
You ever have a culture shock or something that was different for you and everybody's telling you it's normal?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay, this is one of the things. You see, when I was raised, it's not like that. Women are the safest. My father raised me to be a gentleman. Like, you always hold the door for a woman. You never ask a woman their age. You never put your hands on a woman. My dad actually told me, if you want to leave Earth, put your hands on a woman, and I'll make you leave Earth. And I'll laugh. I'm like, all right, Dad. I'm like 5, 6. I'm not laughing. My dad never brought a woman around me. My dad never brought a woman in the same house as me because he never wanted to mix two loves. He didn't want no competition for love. His main priority was us. But when he raised us, If a woman's bringing their groceries to the store, you stop them and you bring their groceries to the car. Women were the most protected where I was from growing up. So when I'm seeing this out here and you're telling me like the situation of getting robbed, I can't believe it because I'm like, what? So, because I was just raised differently in that situation, you know? Like, there's a lot of people who, when I tell them, you know, I was wearing the same clothes every day and I had nowhere to live, people are like, oh my God, they're not used to that, right? We know a lot of people who probably had that coming from where I'm coming from, but the women thing not being safe, that's new. There was things that you brought to my attention that I never was aware of. And I was blind to in my coaching. And even when a person comes to coach for holistic lifestyle coaching, you know, figuring out their purpose, fixing nutrition, tracking everything with them, digestion, all that. I noticed that when I brought that in, that piece, it changed a lot of things in my coaching.
Yeah, and I think that safety is an inherent need for the feminine to have in her partner.
100%.
Safety, not just physically, but financially is a piece of it, emotionally is a piece of it. Like safety of, can I trust you? And the more a woman can feel safe, the more that she will open and flourish and be that magnetic, juicy, expanded woman that men especially want, but men don't create that safe foundation often. And they're like, why aren't you, turned on and open all the time? And it's like, because that safety isn't there. That root isn't there. But ultimately, we can't depend on that from a man. We have to just create that foundation within ourselves. That's why me moving to LA and creating my ideal home and having that root in myself was just so imperative in my own journey. And I think if you're providing that for yourself, you're going to expect that from a partnership as well.
So we're going to rewind. You love yourself first.
Yes.
Then you find your partner.
Because you set the foundation of what the relationship's going to be based on how you treat yourself. It's like people who are like, yeah, I can't wait to get fit when I'm pregnant. It's like, I'm going to do all the pregnant people Pilates. I'm like, do you do Pilates now? They're like, no, So it's like, we are like, oh, I want to wear cute dresses and have flowers and this and that. When I'm in a relationship, it's like, just start being that version of you right now.
Exactly. Because what's the difference between you acting like that now and actually having it?
Because once you start acting it is your reality. You don't have to wait for someone else to choose you.
Your attitude.
Mm-hmm.
It's your attitude. The brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and fake. You know that, right?
Yep.
This is called the placebo effect. The more you will believe something, the more you use consciousness that then becomes subconscious that goes through the 5 layers of energy.
Yes.
And just see what I'm saying?
Living your life in a state of love, I think, ultimately, because then love can never be taken away from you because you are love. And that's the truth of who we are. And
love is the highest level of energy. I think it is. Is it?
Love is the fabric of all reality.
Okay, yeah.
Agape, universal love.
Yeah. That's the first time I said that. So I just wanted to make sure I checked myself. Like, hold on, is it?
Yeah. Love, peace, joy. These are the highest states of consciousness.
What's the lowest level?
Shame.
Mm-hmm. And what else? There's one more.
Shame. Then above that is guilt.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And what two emotions, what do both of those correlate with?
In our lives?
The sacral chakra.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find
and mostly related to sexuality.
Sacral chakra.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shame and guilt. Shame and guilt. Feeling guilty of liking somebody, or guilty or shameful for wanting to date somebody that's different than the usual. I have to teach a lot of people. There's a lot of culture things that can stop a person from dating, or you can get people. I have to work with people who are gay, who want to be gay but are scared.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. You understand? Like that's a real thing where people are scared to be themselves.
Of course.
Like, bro, it's important that you do what you want to do. At the end of the day, my father used to tell me, Pa, everybody can tell you what they want for you. And then after they tell you, they go about their life. And Jay-Z said, everybody can tell you how to do it, but they never did it. You know how to plug Jay in somewhere.
Had to plug it. We're 2 hours in. Okay, well, thank you, Nate, for this amazing conversation. There's just so much here, especially with all the zones. People should definitely go back and re-listen and rewind and really take note. And I think what's helpful is like, while you were speaking about the different zones, I was thinking about different people I knew in my life. So it's really helpful to kind of put together the different pieces of the puzzle. So thank you so much for your wisdom and the way that you have gone against all odds to become this 1%er and, you know, work with your sensitive nervous system and balance your zone 1 to create from your zone 2 to have personal power in your zone 3 so you can share your beautiful love story in zone 4 and learn how to write even though you are dyslexic in zone 5 so you can channel the message of zone 6 and be the embodiment of consciousness of zone 7 and be here with you today.
Yo, that was great. Yo, your memory is sharp.
I'm listening.
Your memory is sharp. Well, thank you again for having me. It's awesome. And like always, I'm very grateful for you. And yeah, this is awesome. And I'm thinking about putting something together, maybe like just a pay what you want workshop after this comes out so people can see the visuals because people with trauma need to see visuals.
Yes, and you have your book coming out.
I have my book coming out. Can I say something about that?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make a statement about this really quick for those that are still here.
Jay-Z's dropping a public service announcement.
No, but this is a real thing. I mean, if it's not from you, if it wasn't for you, I won't be having a book deal right now. And I told you, I'm going to tell you that when we're 70, right? I've learned, I just want to make this clear. I never came on this podcast acting like a victim. I never came on this podcast asking or trying to sell something, right? I never came on agitating and selling. I don't do that. But I'll tell you one thing. I've learned a lot about a lot of things in the last year. And this has nothing to do with just particular race, but it's a statistic. 94% of the industry does not look like me, does not look like you. And the biggest thing it was the biggest thing against taking me on as a writer. I had the story, I had the following, I had the connections and the people, the blurbs, was they didn't think I can sell a book. They didn't think I can sell a book. And that confused me, but it wasn't just one publisher. It was majority of them. They loved me, they love this, they don't think I can sell a book. And what hit me the most is not, you can tell me you can say whatever you want about me, I'm gonna make it happen. But what about the next person that looks like me, that's coming up that wants to be an author, that didn't have 300,000 people on TikTok, which was deleted and taken from me as well, right? I didn't mention that, but my TikTok account was taken away from me 2 weeks ago. So what do you tell somebody that doesn't have that following? What do you tell someone that doesn't have the education that I have or without the story that I have? You can't be an author? So I say all that to say, not only do I want to show them I can sell a book, I want to make history doing it. I want to break numbers. I want to make history. And I'm not doing it to ball out, right? If I earn out of my deal from pre-sale, whatever I earn out on, I'll take that money and I'll start a nonprofit. I'm not doing it to ball out. I'm not doing it to be famous. I'm doing it for the next generation because that's what a 1%er does. A 1%er wants the people who came before them to experience a life before they die and leave a life for those behind them that was better than theirs. And that's what I'm doing. So I say all that to say, I should be able to send you that pre-sale link. Let's make history. Straight like that.
And I don't think anyone ever writes a book for the riches that it comes with. You write a book because it's a contract with your soul. And you know that you are meant to overcome certain life obstacles so you can transmute them and share the alchemy because that is why you're here. So
damn, that's a bar.
Everything's a bar up in here.
That's a fact though. And you're 100% correct. So if I didn't have you on my side, there will be no book deal. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that for the camera. I'm saying that that's a fact. Who got me an agent?
You got you an agent.
Who got me an agent?
You got yourself an agent.
You did. You introduced me to the agent. You wrote my first blurb. Your name was the thing that people, that's the reason why they listened to me. It didn't matter all the ideas or information or stories. You helped me make it happen.
Well, I get to be your Deepak Chopra.
You are my dude. You are. You, in a sense, you are. You got to think about it. You are. And that's why anytime someone I meet always, I love Sahara. And I say, Sahara is the first person I've ever met that had a following that is exactly who she is in person behind that camera. In fact, she's cooler without the camera. But that's a fact. Am I lying? You came to the house, we was up to 4:30 in the morning talking about life. You know? You're the reason why I got the book now. You have helped me a lot, and you helped me get through a tough tunnel to get through, and I appreciate that.
Well,
I really do.
From the moment I saw you on TikTok, I was like, this guy is so fucking cool. He's like Dr. Oz gone thug. I love it. So I just loved your vibe. And I'm like, more people, this is like the kind of conversation I want to be having on the podcast. This is why I started the podcast 7 years ago, that there was, to me, a complete lack of diversity and grounded wisdom in the spiritual community. It was all these blonde girls who spend a fortune at Erewhon every day talking about the $1 million treatments that they get and thinking that spirituality, it's like, no, that's just elitism. You know, we're not all Gwyneth Paltrow here, and no shade to her, but it's a very, very privileged lifestyle. And people think that they need to have that lifestyle to be well, to be connected. And so what I loved when I saw your work, I was like, I didn't even know your story. I just liked what you were sharing about digestion. That's actually how it started.
Before we started the first podcast, I'm like, you didn't know anything about me.
I knew nothing about you. I just liked when you talked about digestion.
You know, I knew nothing about you.
Yeah.
Until the week of, I'm telling people in the gym that, I'm going to your podcast. People are like, oh my God, you know how big that podcast is? I'm like, no. Then they told me, then I went on your website. I'm like, oh, this is a big thing. So before we got on that call, before we recorded the first podcast, I said to you, hey, do you know my story? You said, huh? I said, do you know my story? You said, oh, no. I said, oh, how much time do we have? And you said, well, it doesn't matter. I said, don't tell me that.
Definitely don't tell you that.
And you said, what, as much time as you need. And I said, oof, if you do that, I'll make this one of the best podcast episodes you ever do.
Yes.
And you said, okay, let's see. And then we recorded and I just started on my story. So yeah, you didn't know who I was, but what is spirituality to you?
Oh, we're getting to a whole other episode right here.
My bad.
To me, spirituality, we'll keep rolling with it. If people are listening, they want to be here. Yeah, to me, spirituality is a connection to something that is greater than the mental and the physical. It's something that's intangible. It's something that's felt. And ultimately, it's guided by universal source consciousness that's streaming through us because we're here to be conduits of the divine.
My God.
Like, I don't say those things. That's why sometimes I look down and I just channel them. Most of what I say is channeled.
Got you.
Yeah.
Right, got you.
It's just being open and receptive to the creative stream of consciousness that we are all interconnected with. And that's why when I can speak or make music or write books from a channeled state, it has a texture of truth. And that texture of truth is not coming from Sahara Rose, human body, Capricorn. It's coming from God, goddess, universe.
There you go. So that's why sometimes when I'm on these podcasts and I just start going crazy,
you're channeling.
I'm channeling.
Yes.
You got me? I never knew I was spiritual. I never knew about spirituality until I got it in the podcast. When I got off, people...
You didn't know what spirituality was?
No, I know self-development.
I'm like, here's this great spiritual teacher. He's like, what's spiritual?
No, but
you were spiritual because you were talking about digestion. It related to trauma.
You're right. I just didn't. I became better at concepts and stuff, like writing the book and like learning, these things. I just do it and I just go chill, like this is just what I do. I've been doing it since I was a kid.
I mean, you're an old ass soul.
I'm very old soul.
Yeah.
Like I'm very old soul. But
you're like on last lifetime shit.
Yeah. I felt like, we can get deep into that, but I'm not going to go there. But so when I was having workshops and people would come in, they were telling me they love how spiritual I was. I'm like, I'm spiritual. But then I had to do research on what spirituality was. And I was like, oh yeah, I've been doing this. I never read a book about it though.
Yeah.
I just did it. Yeah, exactly. So I just want to just make that connection. That's cool.
Well, I think I was just a normal person living at my grandma's house broke with no money. And then I decided to write a book. And now I'm an author. That's it. Anyone can do it. But you have to do it.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, listen, don't make it sound like that. Because
I say that because
you sent me a proposal, right? You taught me how to do a proposal, right? I didn't even know what a proposal was. I thought it was a contract. Like that's the kind of proposal I'm used to.
Right.
Secondly, did you hire me a writing coach?
I did, yeah.
Okay. Did you check in throughout the process? You did, right? Did you have me come on your podcast and have thousands of people follow me from there? I had a TikTok following, yeah, I get that. But I'm saying, still, the impact, when I was done, I told you I have 3 agents, and as soon as I was typing that, you hit me with an email, attached me to my agent, who I love. I'm very grateful. It was meant to be for me to be. It was meant for me to be with her, and I would not choose any other book publisher for this book than the publisher I have.
Well, I'm grateful that it worked out. And the reason why I shared that I just decided to write a book is that it's not about being a special person that knew someone and that's how they did it. I, like you, I had never met an author in my life. Knew nothing. I had no idea what a book proposal or any of those things were. I didn't even know what an online business was. I have never had a woman in my family even work or choose who she was married to. So it was like, I didn't know any of these things. I just decided, and we can all just decide to be the lineage breaker that makes a change.
And you did that for me. Just
no,
take the compliment.
you did that for you.
No,
and I did that for me, and everyone can do that for themselves.
God.
So follow your dreams, trust yourself, and live your motherfucking dharma. You heard it here first. All right. So thank you guys so much for listening. I'm so appreciative. Please share this episode with your friends. This is such a good one. You can have so many conversations on it. Be like, what do you think about this section, that section? It's also a great episode to share with people who are maybe like not drinking the spiritual Kool-Aid, who are coming from different walks of life. I think what I really love about Nate's approach is he brings in the science, he makes it grounded, he brings in stories. And I know his past episodes, people have said they've shared it with so many of their friends and family, and it's been such an awakener and community builder. So share the conversation. I'm so excited to see it work its magic into your lives, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Trust your intuition, trust your inner wisdom, trust your inner guidance, close your eyes and listen. Surrender, let go, surrender, let go. So trust your intuition, trust your inner wisdom, trust your inner guidance, close your eyes and listen.